From Team Liquid, it's Clem.
In the top left for Basilisk, he is the blue Zerg, Serral. Right now it is 3cc, and then second barracks, so not going to be a 1-1-1. That's still absolutely worth talking about. You know, 3cc is going to delay any major form of aggression, but you can still change up the way you follow up, and you still get a bit of a surprise, as Serral's Overlord is in the bottom right corner. I guess he could get a full scout, because how many times does it come from that direction? But I guess the question now is, when does he get that full scout? Now he's finally going to actually get a taste of what Raynor was dealing with in our last series.
Yeah, he absolutely is. These Marines starting to come on the right-hand side. Serral was initially prepared. Clem actually unloaded, reloaded, and then unloaded, and then he's just going to go back over the right side. A lot of the links went to the left, which is where the Hellions are poised. And as we'll see what these Queens can do, clearly enough, because Clem does not stick around to fight those. And Serral already just looking dominant defensively, right? Like, he's not got any cracks to be torn open or broken into. So far, Clem is just not able to find anything. A couple of active tumors here. You know they're going to be replaced pretty much instantaneously, so that is not going to be too much of a problem.
Serral was at, really not the best drone counts. Mistakes continue to happen here for Clem. For a while, he was, matching or even... I don't know if he's actually below Clem, but he, wasn't exactly ahead by a bunch, by 10 that he is now, or I guess 8 now. But I think that the assurance that he would not have any holes open for Clem to actually do damage is worth it. Now he seems to be in a pretty comfy position. 76 drones, 5 bases with a macro hatch on the way, 2 faster than his opponent, and he's just denied both forms of harassment, Hellions and the drop.
And he killed a tank with his own run-by, so really everything going well for Serral. This is just already him standing up confidently and Clem unable to really get much going for himself. And this is where Clem's going to get tested in a different way, because the last game was really building off of leads, building off of advantages. This is going to be a deeper macro game where you still have to find those advantages, you still have to find the later game trades without having the natural edge in supplies. So a very different challenge for Clem right now as Serral just keeps on making Banes. He's got 2-2 well on the way. That's going to be ahead of the Terran as well. A couple of potential Ling Bane fights where if you have 2-2 versus 1-1 could be very scary for Clem. So things to watch out for as he tries to come on to creep. A couple of troop units are going down. These Marines are going to stim back again. This Widow Mine is going to go off for a clump of Lings, so that's great. That's something that Clem kind of needed.
Now that was good for Clem. Now he's got 2 armies, technically obviously mostly on the left side. The drop still alive on the right, threatening that side of the map if Serral kind of over-responds to this left side. It's hard to say that an over-response actually exists, however, as he is under a lot of pressure. Absolutely needs to bring most of his army over here to take care of it, but that is the weakness I was talking about. Still need to be mindful of the right side. Now Widow Mines to account for as well, and Clem is finally getting into, I guess, a better position for him. Now feeling a little more in control and looking for the mistakes of Serral. Another Widow Mine does pop off. Doesn't get the Baneling so much, but still good. And now the retreat of the Marines. Looks like the tank has been cleared up, but Widow Mine's back on the front lines, all off of creep as well. Clem might try and focus fire, a little bit of a splitty as well. Exactly what he does. I think he is eventually going to be pushed back totally and entirely, but he tried to take every last ounce of that fight with him. It's going to pull back, and to the reinforcements should be good enough, but Serral just bought himself a lot of breathing room.
Yeah, it's a very different vibe to what we had going on before, as our medevacs will load up there, just bring a few units back up to the top for a couple of moments as Ling Bane overseers. And I gather once more in the center, a few more Lings coming back into the middle as well, a few more Widow Mines coming out. That hive is on the way up. We still have just Marines, a couple Mines, and Viking coming around the left as we're going to get rid of a couple more Crypt Tumors. And the Widow Mine's starting to go off. A few more of those Lings getting hit. Widow Mine's still trying to set up. One just burrowed up here. What that? Oh, wow. Hits the Marine clump more than anything. I thought it might have found its way to the larger amount of Zerg units, but apparently not. As Serral's still chasing, needs to be a little careful, perhaps. Let's have that army top right, which is being deflected throughout this.
Quite a beautiful display from both of the players. Clem is not finding those little edges that are really starting to snowball like he did versus Raynor. A couple of the Widow Mines really are starting to favor him recently and actually get some drone kills finally happening too. 7 of them went down, so I guess Liberator harassment, but Serral's run-by was ineffective. And as such, Serral's supply dips down quite a bit. He starts up 3-3 and a couple of Vipers that will help out, and he still has plenty of bases to work with, but right now a gas problem is rearing its head, as well as potentially a larva problem. No, 18 larva actually, just not building Lings.
anything.
He's just not building anything with minerals.
Yeah, kind of an unusual one from Serral as a couple of Banelings going to get struck down. Bio still moving forward. This hatchery still taking damage on the left side. Bio will load back into those medevacs as well. Ling Bang doing what they can. The last couple of moments have just flipped into Clem's favor, and really felt as though Serral was doing a very good job of holding Clem off and dealing well with him, but Clem, really the persistence and just the ability to just stay calm, stay focused, not overcommitting to anything. He's going to take rid of the Banelings on this right side. Liberator might actually survive through this. The Queen's under fire from Bio. Serral needs to get out of this fight right now because this is going very badly wrong for him. There's a couple of Lings elsewhere. A few SCVs went down. It's not too much. Parasitic bombs at least are going to show up and are going to get some damage done. The full Medivac flies out via the Parasitic bombed Liberator.
But it still feels like it was one moment that cracked Serral's back here, you know? The moment in which he started to take economic damage, initially not all that much, but still damage and a distraction, I suppose. And then a couple of bad Widow Mines to the face, and then he also tried to counterattack and was completely and utterly denied, and then he didn't rebuild instantly. Which that last part of the sentence I can't really quite explain, but he definitely did not rebuild instantly. Now, whether or not he rebuilds 30 Lings actually stops this from snowballing is a different question, but he absolutely lost it in like a 15-second span. He lost control over the game. He lost a chance to win this game as well, I would say. I believe Clem is going to tie up the series with first game here played in this best of 7. And making us go into best of 5, all that good stuff. But Serral, not willing to give up quite yet, must know that he is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, a reset in the series essentially after their series the other day, and Clem just really again showing up, again showing patience, didn't really worry it seemed like, when it came into the initial kind of setup being like, oh, he's not really finding much right away. No, he didn't seem to worry about that at all. As Bio continues to push forward, this hatchery going to be in some trouble. Some Bane's trying to show up, Parasitic Bomb goes down, Medevac's going to have to load up and back away here. A couple more Widow Mine shots going out, and we still have Lings running down to the south where they're going to find themselves a few more SCVs. A couple of SCVs already going down, a few more Banelings get picked off as well. Clem is really just clearing up anything that Serral tries to send onto this other side. And again, a Liberator back is the one getting the drones.
Yeah, exactly, and that is being micro, but a lot of the fights up to this exact moment were also with Clem's upgrade advantage. 3 CC for Clem, very typical stuff. No proxy on the field that I can see. It's gonna be a Roach Warren, dude. That's kind of the last thing I expected from Serral on this map. So yeah, okay, all right. Let's see if he gets really aggressive with it or uses it kind of more as a defensive, just building up a solid line of defense and then getting to the hive and adding on Banelings and whatnot.
His Marine's going to unload back over to the bottom right. We do have the Overseers moving in toward the main base in a couple of moments. 1-1 upgrades are about to be done. We just have our Armory, Command Center, etc. all coming through. The Overseer gets all the way over to the left. And Clem just goes to push in towards this main side of the map. Obviously, this is the issue with Raduset. Where do you really go? Well, you can drop into the other bases, but in terms of actually trying to push in anywhere on the ground, not too much love, and obviously dropping into a position where units already are doesn't really happen, so it really feels like Clem is extremely limited on where he can even go at this point in time, and that's just, again, the struggle to some extent that he's probably going to have to come through for the next little while. That's how our Bioforce comes through the center. Medevac's overhead. Tanks and Widow Mines going to come pushing along, and we do have 2-2 upgrades. Not there just yet, but this is definitely Clem looking to see what he can set up with. I mean, let's have the tanks up around this kind of chasm and just make it so there's a more run around to get on top of them. There's a barracks. I was about to build a tech lab over here. Not sure what that says, but okay. Cool. No idea what happened there.
He's literally so fast that he usually it'd just be with mistake. I'll get into it in a second. The battle is actually ensuing. Vipers are ready, so that kind of took the wind out of the tank's sails as they were dragged over into the awaiting arms of the army. But Clem's reinforcements come in and still with the abusive position around this whatever it is, and without creep. Like, this is something that Clem can stay on, and actually even tries to micro against the Banelings. Still some connections with the last few Banelings, even as they died, is a huge difference maker as Clem is forced to evacuate. I'm the Terran now. Actually, an Overlord drop, 11 minutes with some Ultras. You don't see this too often, but you do see it occasionally. And I think a lot of the players have gotten wiser to any race abusing what's called kind of like an anchor, a natural anchor third. Oh no, but the timing. Oh no, the timing. Clem had units prepared for this, and then he moved them out of position. Okay, well, never mind.
Yeah, that's rough. So he moves them out of the way. Now Serral's going to come in. Widowmine will still hit the first Overlord. That isn't going to do too much. Now the units are going to come back, and like you say, just the timing, right? Because now you have to run back in. A lot of these units get unloaded at the same time. Clem eats a parasitic bomb. Full medevac pretty much going to die on the upper side. The ultra drop harass is successful. You know, you get a few SCVs, you force your opponent to make a mistake on the other side, and Serral is looking to capitalize with the rest of his army elsewhere at the same time. Going to jump on this fresh base. I don't think that one is going to actually get to be a planetary fortress.
But my point was kind of like, Serral is hoping to get Clem to pull back entirely and completely, but Clem doesn't really have to. His army's still pretty good, but he is starting to lack Widow Mines, I guess, so he needs to respect each other at this point, I suppose. And Serral isn't going to just be able to push this away super and cleanly and nicely, unless that fungal hits, which that was a pretty good fungal. A lot of the medevacs didn't hit, but no parasitic bomb to back things up, and the timing of the reinforcements from Clem to help out. A couple of ghosts were looking for snipes, but unfortunately now on the run. Now we'll try and get the snipes. And they will indeed take out that Ultra. Investor on the back setup for another great fungal. But are there enough Zerg units here to actually take care of this? Baneling connections will absolutely do the trick. And this will be Clem totally and entirely pushed back into his bases. Fortunately, planetaries are available to hold the line. But Serral now has the map control, has a huge bank, and is starting to rally forward. You can tell that he figured that was a very good engagement, and it absolutely was. Those fungals were crucial to pushing Clem back, and that goose came after you, man. It's the goose game.
Dem Infest is constantly lurking around the map. They're going to take over the Lurkers tile soon, because they just lurk, and then boom, they pop, they fungal, and it just changes the game entirely. Interestingly, initially he was like focusing on sniping down the Overseer instead of the Ultra, which I was kind of intrigued by. I was like, maybe he's going to cloak up the Ghost, but didn't have Cloak. Anyways, now he is going to try and Widow Mine drop. Is definitely taking a big loss there. These Widow Mines actually do pretty well in the Zerglings, if nothing else. He has had some good Liberators too. He had one on the start of that fight on the base, and now he's got another in the bottom right. He's actually got one on the top side too, so Clem with a lot of harassing options, trying to keep Serral slowed down where possible. Unfortunately, it's not doing enough. Serral is still at 3.7k, 1.5k in the bank. He is still mining comfortably, and he still has the money to rebuild at a moment's notice.
Yeah, Clem still needs a better direct fight than what we just saw there, and I don't think he's actually gonna get it with this particular army. It's really not his whole army, and he got fungled again, so that definitely is not gonna be it. A lot of Banelings available as well, and the limited splash here. Okay, a couple more Widow Mines burrowing, that's a bit nicer. Means that Serral might once again get an opportunity to chase Clem all the way back home. Serral this time is losing a decent amount of drones to the Lib range harass. But Clem has been forced back, not into even his third or fourth, or rather into his natural. The planetary will go down, nothing to support it. SCVs, somehow, you'll survive. You're the lucky ones, I guess. But does he have an extra command center? He's actually already floating it over. Temporary loss of control, I suppose, for Clem as he is starting to clean things up.
Yeah, he's going to push this back, but I'm not sure how great we really feel about him pushing it back in a way, because I look at this now as this Liberator is going to get shot down. The damage he did leading into this was good, but Serral had the bank preemptively set up, so for Clem to kind of lose out on bases already kind of feels rough, because he's already in the process of barely mining enough to keep his, reinforcements afloat. So just the fact he has to try and reestablish bases and everything after this, it's a little tough, like I say. Go ahead. Let's just have Lings, Ultras, Banes continuing to come on about.
It's probably going to be a lot of the same, but in different locations and different amounts of damage, right? Which is that the Zerg player is going to try and crack the wall that is now being set up from a more turtley Clem, which I absolutely think is the right call for him. Don't turtle very much without a planetary, but the orbital, as you've said, can at least lift and save itself, so that's somewhat of the good news. Liberators coming forward. They've had Lib range for a very long time. We also had an armor upgrade at some point, not even sure when, but that's been helping the medevacs as well, and now working on a second armor upgrade. Clem also got Caduceus Reactor, which is one of those like definitely late game upgrades, but I would say it's pretty helpful, increasing the regen of the energy on the medevacs, especially since so many of them have been killed thanks to the good parasitic bomb fungal combinations. So really much a very good late game setup for both players. They're getting every upgrade under the sky. Serral, I don't think we'll be getting to Broodlords anytime soon, actually, because of the scenario I was painting earlier for the Terran, which is that in the same way that Terran would love a planetary to hop forward and deny this base, for instance, kind of a jumping off point, Broodlords also want that type of game. a slow, turtley, head-to-head type of game, not one that spreads all over the map. But there's a scenario in which we actually get to a 30 or 40-minute game, and Broodlords might make an appearance.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very true, right? Broodlords can be a very good finishing touch, or like a big switch. You use them one time, and then boom, you're kind of done with them, right? But a big switch, if Clem is not prepared for them, is Fungal is going to be a good catch. It stops these units in a big way. Medevac's escaping with the, honestly, littlest of HP. As the few Vipers cannot get a Parasitic Bomb on them. Corrosive Files to get rid of a double Liberator there, and that's a big deal. And these other Libs just kind of low as well at the same time. Okay, there was actually empty Medevac's top left. I thought something exciting was about to happen, but apparently not. Clem's supply is the one that really just falls here by a pretty significant margin. Yeah, I'm very intrigued as to what the plan is. Like, he has 3. Now we're not building anymore. Obviously,
yeah,
now he's kind of strapped for cash as well, though. Like, maybe when he had a large army already, it was just fine. It was maybe more of a support thing. I'm not really too sure. There is an Infestor lurking once again, pops up, drops a Fungal. The Ultras will take that as the opportunity to engage. Meanwhile, Lings are just ravaging that gold mineral line, so that will go nowhere. And again, Serral can just play this out like this, right? You pop in, you drop a couple of Parasitic Bombs, you trade out a little bit, nothing too major, and you just back it up once more.
A terrible resource loss tab, by the way, as far as Terran is concerned. 1,000 resource difference? That's not it for late game TVZ. I know Zergs out there are like, this is exactly what it's supposed to look like, but no, it's not. There should be, I mean, even 10k is reasonable to ask in a TVZ. That would have been a little favorable to Clem, but yeah, 1k is not enough. Serral has been taking way too good of trades, a lot because of his great infestor placement. You know, they've been a couple of cheeky just pop-up surprise infestors. Okay, you get that, but there's even some situations in which he realizes Clem is retreating and then positions them, you know, it's kind of like to the south to prepare the back Fungal. It's been very good. Clem's army supply is, I think, finally truly representing the game state, which is that it's down 20, 30, 40 when Serral remaxes. And Clem just cannot, for the life of him, get a good enough engagement. That one was slightly better, apparently, with resource loss, but still not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, he's killed a lot of drones a game, but Serral has such a big bank, and by the time Serral actually needs to kind of, you know, rebuild his bank, well, he's just got the time. He doesn't need 70 drones anymore, so this is fine. This base down here is obviously one which Clem is meant to mine himself, so Serral, having it taken down, he actually gets a bunch of units for it. That's just more efficiency from the Zerg point of view. You might wrap around on this army. I thought with the Banes from the top, you might come in from the south, but it doesn't happen, and for the moment, at least, Clem will still survive, but this is very much so becoming more and more of a Serral-focused game. I mean, he's maxed, he's got 6.5k, 2k in the bank, and again, all Clem is doing is killing off a couple of drones, which seems like just such superficial damage, because there's no benefit from it when Serral's already so rich.
Yeah, there's really not. There's a follow-up to it that makes Serral even, you know, hold between drone making or army making. It's just Serral can do whatever he wants, and Clem is finally going to try and get back on the offensive to hope that something goes well for him, but too quick a reaction from Serral's army. I mean, Serral's kind of playing this maybe... Well, without the infestors getting the Fungal, I guess he does play it rather safe. He doesn't want to be caught trying to win the game and then get caught in Clem's micro madness, but there's the Fungal! And there is the end of the game, pretty sure.
Yeah, that almost feels like an instant GG moment. Obviously, in the grand finals of a tournament, you probably don't instant GG. You take a few moments to reflect, and then you GG, apparently, which...
This game actually not 3CC, so he is going to go into probably Banshees then. Seems to be his choices. Or no, he's going to go to Proxy Starport again. Oh.
Cyclones.
Oh, maybe it's going to be a Liberator.
Oh.
Yeah, because he got Cyclones instead, so...
Different setup, then.
Bit different.
So that was the Liberator. I was going to say, it's just going to arrive that much faster. That's going to be a response Serral has to use. He's going to have to send some queens to the main. It's unexpected. You don't build spores at this time. If you have to send queens to the main, that does give the Cyclones a good chance to trade out with less queens on the front and maybe break through and gain some momentum.
Yeah. If Serral had scouted the lack of Starport, the lack of Starport and the lack of 3rd CC, then he might have thought back immediately to a Hellion drop and been a little surprised at the timing of the air unit in the main and then the timing of the Cyclones. But actually, he really had very little scouting, so he's still just mostly reacting on what he sees on the front. Overlord now trying to dip on in is probably going to be shot down regardless. He has knowledge now, as Liberator, I believe, was seen by the Overlord, or well, maybe not. It's going to siege up, and the drones have yet to be pulled. Serral is not ready for this. Maybe he thought it was a drop because his Lings went up there, and they should be helping out in the front lines in some way, shape, or form. And the Liberator will certainly deny some mining while the Hellion Cyclone squad continues to harass on the front lines very effectively.
Liberator gets sieged. This Queen is going to fire a few shots onto said Liberator. The Queen gets pushed back. A couple of drones get chased away. Hellions and the Cyclones regather back into the center. As we will just set up a little bit more crew spread. This Liberator going to siege from the upper left is actually going to re-siege this Queen. Got to take a step away again.
This, I said they were harassing very effectively, and it might have been like, oh, is it though? Because it's not dealing a lot, but it's dealing with a lot of Lings. As more Hellions reinforced as well, the Lings finally trying to get us around, but up against maybe superior numbers, they do grab one of the Cyclones. Is what I was also going to say is that the Queens are starting to get a little bit low on the transfuse energy, but it looks like with the Cyclone dead and the majority of the Hellions dead and the Liberator finally dead as well, Serral did stop that before it snowballed a little bit, because all it took was another lock on, I think, on these Queens, and then suddenly it's probably two of them dead, if not maybe not all four, but two of them, and that's the effective damage. Even still, even though they didn't quite get those kills like I was expecting, I think he might be already aware, just assuming, because Serral does play the macro game a lot, that it is not going to be a big bust of Roach Ravager, as he's not really all that quickly getting into Widow Mines. He's still building Widow Mines, even with the knowledge of the Roach Warren.
Yep, as these Queens, though, they're actually starting to drop. A couple of Roaches finally showing up. There's a Widow Mine down here to soften things up if they go a bit too far forward, like right now, and that's going to blow up a Roach. Don't hate that trade from Clem, although there is obviously the big push through the center, and Clem clearly is just... I mean, I guess this is him just abandoning base because he just kept sending the medevacs. Now he turns back around. I mean, talk about being completely underprepared. He had apparently no idea, CG, that this was a possibility.
Well, I think he did just assume that Serral was going to play, macro Roach.
In 3CC, I'm just going to go back to Old Faithful and just try and get himself comfortable, try and get himself set up nicely, try and put himself in a game that we've seen him be able to play earlier today to a great level. Can he bring that back? Or is he gonna have a tough time of it?
I'd still say this is kind of nice though for Clem. I mean, the Banshees, they still help out against a Roach player more than Lings, even when it comes to run bys, for instance. 4 Roaches dealt with easily, 16 Lings actually still do a decent bit of damage. And I would say that Clem is used to not finding a whole lot of damage with this opener. So it's not like, oh, the Hellion Banshee didn't counter an attack or an all-in. I guess it's kind of a terrible opener now. No, he does this all the time in very normal macro TVZ games. Is it as effective as a 3CC? Maybe not, but, there's a chance that it is. And the benefits defensively and anti-harassment-wise are also pretty good with Banshees.
So you see these Banshees firing up, and a couple of Roaches start to go down. I mean, nice to get some damage done. Hellions, we're thinking about coming back. Some of them are bruised up, though, so I don't really want to see them giving themselves up for no reason. Just something to be a little careful of. Let's just see ourselves. The extra Roaches moving out into the center. The couple of Banshees still coming back around on the right-hand side. The Marines still setting up in the middle of the map as well. 1-1 upgrades coming through. Combat Shield is building. Marine, Siege Tank, Factory, Refineries continue to come on about. As our Marines of Clem work over to the left.
The Hellion dive also scouted the Hydralisk Den and Devastation Pit. Both, whatever. But I think the intention is clear now. So last game there was Devastation Pit, but then the Roach Spell still happened and it killed him. This time around, seeing a Hydralisk Den, I feel, is even more confirmation. Yeah. Then last game's kind of false confirmation, I suppose. But this is like, if Serral won with just Roaches pushing through the middle of the map now, especially because this time Clem also got tanks.
No, that's definitely very true, right? Because this map should be a little bit more playable in that regard. We do see medevacs on the left side being forced back. Same in the main base. Initial defenses, Serral are as solid as they have been kind of throughout this series. It's been rare that he starts losing a lot of stuff straight away. Obviously, he's starting to get already into those first lurkers. So That's something that Clem has to play around straight away. You already see him deciding to go straight into the Ghost Academy, so he knows what he's up against. He knows what he needs to prep for, and he is starting to do just that.
The fact that he's already going to have 6 tanks, because he started with tank production ASAP, no attempt to go into Widow Mines that would have been fruitless anyway, is really also going to help him bridge any potential gap that Serral might have looked to abuse. Kind of a, sometimes we see the medevac list push in like TVP, I guess. You could be like an upgrade list lurker push if you really believe that the technology is going to surprise your opponent. Obviously not the case here. He was scouted, but still. Clem would be well prepared at home while still getting a decent amount of units in a drop on the other side of the field. It's not his whole army, but it is a lot, so Serral has to respect it. And then, yeah, the tanks will really cover any attempt like this to do damage.
That was horrible. He just,
Yeah.
Serral has the Dropper Lord set up again. You know what? If he gets in... Wow, look at Clem. Missile turrets around the edges. That's fantastic, because I know it's maybe to help stop Niduses and so on, but honestly, just to stop the Dropper Lords too, it would work, and it's something people are starting to respect. Serral is doing this more and more lately, so that's kind of wild that there's some amount of preparation for something along those lines going on currently.
Yep. And that center tower is very well timed, although it might still not give him enough time to reposition. But if he has the ghost count, then these drops or these Nidus Worm busts, like, they're not as fearsome, but it is only 3 right now. About to be 7 ghosts. That's a better number. We do have a couple of Vikings. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, maybe this will be enough to deter the drop. If he kills 1 Overlord with a Lurker in it, it's already pretty freaking nice.
Serral is just like, I refuse to stop, and he's just going to send it, so the Lurkers will get to burrow up here. All the Lurkers get to unburrow from these 5 Overlords, and now, obviously, the Overlord's still going down. This is very committed. There's no way out. There's no Nidus to jump back into. He's going to try and push with Lurkers at the front at the same time. Has the Viper to help him abduct, as it feels as though so far, Serral's doing pretty well. He's getting some Ghosts in the main base, too. Now a couple snipes are coming down, I guess. I don't know, like, initially it felt okay, but the fact that front attack doesn't really do much of anything, there's just so many siege tanks CG, I feel like that's the reason why Serral can't get anywhere he wants to. The tank count is just so high and well spread.
It's obviously important to take care of the main base as cost efficiently as possible, but you could even argue that it's more important not to overreact. Like, eventually that will get cleaned up is something that I think Terran players are, they remind themselves. Because I think the first time we saw Nidus Worms, more so than the drops, but the Nidus Worm problem with Lurkers, Terrans were like, oh god, it's gonna kill me, I'm like, it's the worst thing, it's so abusive, and then what they actually died to was the front line. So, definitely gotten like calmer about it, and also trusted their Ghost transition, I think, a little bit more too, because that usually will deal with the main base, again, eventually. You can't just let them sit there and do all the damage in the world. So, yeah, kudos to Clem, really anticipating to a certain extent something like that, Nidus Worm or drop, and then also making sure to anticipate the front line attack and having everything he needed to defend. As I said, this is a better situation, I feel like, for Clem as far as the games have gone, more mimicking the first game of this best of 7. Serral not finding the Lurker approach that he was hoping for, and he might even start to move off of Lurkers as the game goes on, just because that ghost count will continue to increase and the Lurkers will probably continue to look less and less effective.
Keep the upgrades going as our snipes do start to come down. The Banes and the Hydras make their way down the left, and we do just battle back and forth. Serral decides to kind of run forward a little bit. Widow Mine doesn't do too much. Yeah, a couple more Infestors on the way out. Serral just kind of losing a few units, replacing them. On the right side, he's got Lurkers, which are going to get a lot of these Marines. I think Clem was not watching there, so that's a big one. That's a lot of Marines dropping down. Clem has to send more units across. Serral just going to use this as a chance to try and deny this right side base, which is probably not a big deal for Clem. He just lifts it back up, but losing all those Marines, already very costly.
Yes, but definitely a different setup than the last, in which losing those Marines would have been devastating. The Radicet, actually. I kind of forget this last game is the Roach attack. Just so not memorable. And he does reestablish the base to the right side, and he scans the fact that Serral has the top right corner base, but I'm actually really hesitant to believe that he can deny it. He can harass it, but I think his focus will be entirely to the bottom left.
Yeah, I get the feeling it's going to be similar as we actually have a fungal catch on that Ghost. I said Ghost in the medevac, sorry. So that was very nearly an expensive loss for Clem as Serral just going to work around. You can see that Clem is trying to work his way bottom left and push into this base, which would be great. I mean, and you really don't want to let this mine out because, again, that's resources you have to find back at some point. Especially if Serral stops him from mining the right side. There's a big offset in, you know, money mined in this game, which, again, Serral kind of needs. 8,000 resource loss difference, but, yeah, I mean, they both have massive banks right now. This game not going anywhere just yet.
No, I would say not anytime soon, but there's always a chance someone has a disastrous engagement. Serral is coming in from multiple directions, which could be good for him, but it is going to be mostly off of that creep. Ghost actually surrounded by the Lings, going to need to be picked up. There we go. And do safely retreat. We got so many chokes to work with, both on the map as well as man-made with the orbitals. Liberators also with no strong instant response to them. So that will be Clem quickly reestablishing the front line. And in fact, Clem is going to take out the bottom left base. But that was so many minerals mined. I mean, Serral was really quick to getting that base and saturating it as well. So really good for him if we are, in fact, looking at a potential 30-minute game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's only, one of these patches had like 46 minerals left. The other has 200. So basically half the patches mined. Some of the more expensive patches obviously still remaining with quite a few on, but good to get anything you can off of it. The more you get off of it, the more likely it is you're going to turn this game into your favor eventually, and that you just have enough resources to outlast your Terran opponent, which is so often the case in terms of what you need to get done on these matches.
And Clem is a lot more familiar with this setup than the one on Radisset again. It's not that he hasn't also practiced the late game. In fact, he made it a point to a while ago, but it's just that Radisset is such a different setup. And Golden Aura, a little more in the expected way to do things, but still having the typical problem that is, maybe not being able to expand enough against a Zerg player that is going to continue attacking you and attacking you and attacking you. As we see here, Serral actually getting a handful of SCVs with this, but not really getting the big ghost kill. A couple of tanks also went down, but quick to replace that. Clem still on 9 tanks. Actually, maybe you could argue he doesn't need 11, but he is going to build up to 11.
Again, resources lost is now over 10k apart from the two of them. It's actually kind of funny because we're kind of starting to get to the point where I feel like Serral really needs to maybe not mine from this right side base, but he really can't let Clem mine from it if he wants to be okay in this game in the long run.
That is definitely true. Maybe he doesn't have to mine from it right now, but he definitely can't let Clem take that base too. But it's going to be more of a struggle to get units onto the right side of the map the more that Clem encroaches on Serral's production line. His third and natural, for instance, if they're ever under fire, then that's far too scary to let go. We have had some crazy TVZs where you kind of rotate the map in the main productions. Takes a lot to get there. So Serral needs to make sure that is delayed as long as possible, and if he can actually get his hatchery up and running over there to steal some minerals, even better. But Clem is now looking to take down this potential base, where there are some minerals and gas for him to take, if he does really truly take it down. He's maybe gonna get this one.
Yeah, he's going to try and set up on that right side too, so we'll see how much pressure Serral puts into denying that. There's Lingbane Hydra over here, and Serral is going to catch Clem unawares, so that's going to be a nice catch. Pounces on the left side at the same time, so in we go. The Lings do jump onto the siege tank down there, and well, Clem actually losing a bit of supply very significantly there. And that's a big moment from Serral, because he protects that base, which he's continuing to mine from.
That's the biggest moment, I would say, is being able to crack that high grounds and then hopefully continue delaying them from ever getting it again. Unfortunately, Clem really didn't have a lot of chokes to work with at the end of the day. Only an orbital to add in a little bit of Sim City, and then the rest of the map not really helping him out very much. A planetary, extra command centers, extra static defense actually would have been probably pretty helpful, as well as just, maybe having units in a better position. Not sure exactly how that started. But Clem might have another chance to get on that high ground and again continue to pressure this base, but with minutes now away from him doing that, probably means Serral's 9 o'clock base is probably going to actually mine out. So it's far less important to kill. It's still a potential domino as far as, again, getting to the rally points, but it's not as effective as it would have been. Now an attempted break onto the right side. There's a lot of tanks and Liberators, however. Some of the tanks taken out of the equation, but so many Liberators still getting shots off. It looks like Serral is going to sacrifice the majority of his army in doing this. And was that worth it? He got the tanks, but then the Liberators are basically untouched, so I don't think it was.
Yeah, I'm with you, right? So much of the tech just survives here from Clem, and the tech he's going to really rely on later in this game, I think, with a lot of those lives. You see Corruptors coming over, who's going to start fighting those Liberators a bit more seriously. So that's going to be an investment from Serral here. Get those Corruptors out, be able to fight the Liberators better, because so far he's just been kind of running into them without good answer. And now it's becoming an issue. This top right base has also been Serral's for a long time, but Clem's going to take a position on this, and this is becoming a problem because obviously Clem has the bottom left now. He's got this right side base set up. We've talked about this. There's one of those lurking infestors. Going to see another pop up from the left-hand side, allowing Serral to come through. I mean, both players have a big bank. Serral has more gas to spend than Clem does. He's going to find quite a few of these SCVs, which again is important. Any struggles Clem has mining is a big deal.
Instead, he does dip down a decent bit in his own supply, where Serral can remax rather quickly on one of the fastest building armies. Ling Ultra back on the front lines. The Corruptors were taking out a lot of the Liberators while that was being rebuilt, and Clem is quickly finding himself in a lot of trouble. Once again, the tank's not really helping out all that much. Widowmine starting to pop off, but also dealing friendly fire, and Clem's supply is just in the gutter.
It absolutely is. The rebuild from Serral, just having so much money, being able to rebuild so quickly is such a big deal. His Corruptors continue to come through, chasing down this orbital command. It's going to go down, ZG. So the orbital has fallen. And now we just got ourselves Serral regathering over on the right side. Ling, Ultra, Bane. We do see the little fungal coming down as that infestor got found. But I mean, the rebuild from Serral is huge. And Clem has some money left, but it's mostly minerals. How effective can they really be as the infestor Bane Ultra continues to build up? And you know, we set up for these Ultras a while ago. I wouldn't say we really used them too effectively, but on this rebuild right now, what a great time. And it just really swept in and caught Clem at a point where he didn't have the numbers to really fight against any of this.
Exactly. I think if he still had his numbers, he still had his tanks from the two bad fights previous. Well, kind of bad. Like the one fight that killed his tanks into a bad fight left him so low on supply in general, that the quicker that Serral could get back on the front lines, the better, even if it was Ultras. As Ultras, once you see them off creep against Ghosts that are prepared and properly protected, they do start to lose some of their power. Quick to wiggle away right there.
Ling, being Ultra Corruptor, getting ready to jump on this base once again. The Infestors got seen there. We're going to try and run away with them as the Ghost went hunting. As we do deny the bottom left couple of structures as well, and that's just going to mean that the drone's going to long distance mine. And Serral's going to launch another attack CG. It feels like there's only so many of these attacks that Clem can take right now. It does hit the EMPs. No fungals came out. We've got the Viper's blinding clouding to help us in. Probably one of the better fights Clem has had as he gets a lot of snipes off, but even saying that, it's obviously not great. We're going to lose a fair amount, and Serral is still able to rebuild where his opponent is not.
It's just too bad because I feel like Clem could have had some of the fights that looked like that earlier on, but I think he did get a little too gung-ho trying to push into this base and then not being able to recover nearly as quickly as the Zerg player. Is just the nature of the beast, nature of the matchup. So he's probably too far gone unless Serral does that same attack again and it's equally as effective. And then there is a maybe, because Serral is legitimately running out of resources to mine as well, I guess, at some point. But yeah. The question is basically, can Clem's current army defeat the army of Serral right now and the next half army that's coming after that?
Yep, as an Ultra tries to run in front of everything else, the Lings are coming through, the Corruptors are going to go for the Liberators, although the Ghost Snipes do very well onto those Corruptors, as Serral is now out of minerals. At some point, he just needs to get enough units up to fight through those Ghosts, right? So yeah, out of minerals though. I mean, still mining. We're almost at the point where there's no minerals left on the map apart from this right side base, which, if Clem somehow holds on to it, maybe there's some wild way that this is not quite a done deal.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. If Clem was at 90 army supply, I'd be a bit of a believer, but at almost half that of Serral's, and also lacking medevacs to heal up his army, I don't think it's going to happen. Infestor will get a fungal. It's not particularly great, but it's good enough. And just frankly, Serral's overall advantage in this game is showing here as he is able to do his, third or fourth attack in a row. And finally, get the W. Serral with the 4-1 victory.